which is pretty much the way I would sum up Ahsoka Episode 4, which was called Fallen Jedi, not Jedi Fallen Order, because Dave Filoni, who is the biggest simp lord for women, oh my god, it is so embarrassing.
Hello, this is your television speaking. Let's push the button marked idiot and see what comes out.
Do you mind? This is an internal call.
While we've been doing our silly little jokes and sketches, you've been sitting there gasping, this is the greatest show I've seen in my life.
In the ass end of space, even aliens watch Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog.
Seriously, if you want to talk about Mr. Sim Supreme, it's definitely Dave Filoni.
When you look at Andor and you look at Obi-Wan, you look at Mando, you look at Boba, they all do have a different feeling, a different tone. And I think that's remarkable and really speaks to the serialized nature of Star Wars and how it can be very flexible.
I will say about this episode, some people are calling it a step up. It's an improvement from the previous 3. I don't think it is. If anything that levitates this episode is the late, great Ray Stevenson. I've said it once and I will say it again. You gotta watch Punisher Warzone because he is incredible. And in fact, maybe next week or the week after, I'm going to do a video about that movie because it's just amazing. But Ahsoka Episode 4, it is basically, again, it parades itself as a 38-minute feature, but it's actually 34 minutes. I like to tell you these things because, you know, if you kind of walk in and you want to know where to hit that skip button, well, you know what to do. It was a series of meaningful or meaningless events, depending on your point of view. And I would actually call this the non-bottled episode. Now, if you don't know what a bottled episode is in American TV, so you've got like a typical show like Breaking Bad or The Sopranos, where they have like 10 episodes in each season. But 1 or 2 of those episodes, there won't be much in the way of action going on because they have to allocate the money for a big action set piece in the future or last episode. Breaking Bad was known for it. So I felt like the previous episodes of Ahsoka felt a little bit like that, even though there was action, but it was very middling and yeah. And this episode was directed by Peter Ramsey. Have no idea who he is, but it seems that he came in and removed some of the god-awful cringe femininity we've seen in the previous episodes. But of course, not to say that he still couldn't trim off a little bit more of that fat off the goose, because we still get it here in doses. Like, for example, at the end of the previous episode of Ahsoka, they crash land in that forest, and as our good friend Sabine Wren steps out, Ahsoka looks lovingly into her eyes and says,
"Can I count on you?" Sabine.
Also, the sheepdog for Lord Balin, as played by the great Ray Stevenson, when he asks her, "Do you know where Ahsoka and her entourage are?" she says, "Yes, they're a few clicks north." And I'm wondering, in the Star Wars universe, I don't believe they use the phrase clicks or the word. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a modern day militaristic word. Why would you use it in Star Wars? That was just very weird. Now, speaking of things all military, we got to talk about General Hera, as played by the not so insufferable Elizabeth Winstead, but she's chosen the character who is truly insufferable beyond pails of buckets that you find in Wandsworth Prison. And if you know that reference, well, you're a better man than me, or woman. So she's got a little son, Jason. You know, at least she's got good taste in names. There's a moment where she defies another colleague's orders to stay put where she is. And you know what her excuse is? Well, I'm a general and I can disobey orders any way I can. That later on does not pay off because she's outmaneuvered by Morgan, who likes to stand in the cockpit of a spaceship like a cuckold hen. The woman has got very bad posture, by the way. I mean, the actress needs to go to a gym and carry out some back row exercises. She's really having a bit of a serious stoop at the moment. So that happened, and then Jason turns to his mum and says, I've got a bad feeling about this. Yeah, thanks, Mom, because you took your X-Wing fighters with you and you put them in danger because of your insufferability and an ineffective leader.
God damn, that's a big fat ass.
In this episode, quite a few strange things happened. So I mentioned the forest bit at the beginning where, of course, now you have David Tennant as Hiyang or Hiwang. I mean, it's such a dumb name from Android. He gets ambushed by another android and calls out the ladies for help. Oh, help me, I'm a robot in distress. Of course, they come to his aid and they take care of the military droid. The the droid to droid combat, the CQC, is awful. I mean, I've seen puppets in Thunderbirds move more convincingly than what I saw in this so-called AAA production from Disney. It's really freaking awful. And then after that moment, Ahsoka and Sabine go running off into the forest. It's like a Benny Hill moment. It seriously is. And then, of course, they meet, I'm going to call her Space Joan of Arc. I like to call her Space Joan of Arc because her outfit does remind me of that character, as played by Jane Wheadlin in the first Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure. Now, what's quite funny about this scenario, it reminds me of a Gears of War game. They'll come to this turnpike in the game and you either take left or you take right, depending on which squad member you want with you. And this felt a little bit like that. And reluctantly, Sabine has to go and have her second rematch with Space Joan of Arc. And it is pretty hilarious. Very cringe-worthy to watch because this choreography is stilted. It feels like a drama class that you go to where before you start acting your scenes out, you're doing all these Tai Chi exercises and you're moving around. This feels like Tai Chi, but slightly sped up. It was just very terrible. Ahsoka comes face to face with Lord Balin. And again, you know, Ray Stevenson, he's what, 6'5"? And he's just towering over the midget that is Rosario Dawson. They're having a fair go at making it look convincing that they're real badasses, but Ray's more of the badass in this, even though he's moving a lot more slowly and a bit more gracefully. So you're probably wondering, why is Ahsoka fighting Balin? What's going on? So it's all to do with that egg. The egg disguised as a map, not a map disguised as a dude, dressed as another dude. And this map is going to be the epicenter of what's going to happen in this episode. So a bit of fighting goes on, and oh yeah, of course, what happens? And I kind of cheered at this moment. Balin knocks Ahsoka off the cliff. I was expecting a girl boss moment where she might just kill him and move on, but the story doesn't allow for that, thank God. And then, of course, Miss Space Joan of Arc turns up, and she kind of gives a bit of a life lesson to Sabine Wren by telling her just moments before this moment that she doesn't have the power of the Force. You don't harness it. You don't know what to do. And I thought, you know what? For once, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that Chin or Shin puts Ren in her place. I liked it. And of course now, when the map egg is revealed, it's this holographic device. You put it into this pillar, you just kind of turn it clockwise, and then all of a sudden now you're surrounded by a holographic galaxy map. I suppose that's the way you call it. And basically this is the map that's going to form the pathway to finding Ezra Bridger. So what Balin wants to do is to reunite Sabine Wren and Bridger, and I think he's going to wipe them out together. I think that's what it's going to be, even though he's already given his word he's not going to kill her or hurt her in any way. But I think if you kind of look behind the menacing glance, the gaze of Ray Stevenson, you know there's a lot more going on than that.
Is there a note of fear in your voice?
Experience.
Now, the end of this episode is rather peculiar, and you've probably seen it online already, so I'm not even going to say to you right now, this is a spoiler. That spoiler dropped over 48 hours ago. So basically, Hayden Christensen returns as Anakin Skywalker in one of the strangest scenes I've ever witnessed. Basically, Ahsoka wakes up and she's like, oh, where am I? This actually reminded me of the first Max Payne game. If you've ever played that, there's a sequence where it's kind of like drug-induced, where Max is running around amongst veins, like veins inside of your body. He's basically, you got to walk on these strings of veins, and there's blood everywhere, and if you kind of make the wrong turn, you got to start all over again. This kind of reminded me of that. And apparently, there's an article that I read where the reason why this has happened, why she's seeing Anakin in front of her, is because the Force can create mini universes, which to me sounds like a multiverse. This is a multiverse of madness. That's what it felt like. And I just thought, you know what it feels like to me? It's like you have a character like Ahsoka who hasn't been very popular that long, and basically she was born out of an animated show. An animated show that probably not many people watched, an animated show that this live action series is based on, so you're kind of treading uncharted waters there, if you know what I mean. Hayden Christensen playing an OG character like Darth Vader, the young version of, you need a legacy character like him to prop up a nobody character like Ahsoka. That's essentially what it is. And time again, I've seen this. It's not a surprise. I mean, in Mandalorian Season 2, they brought back CGI Luke Skywalker, or should I say AI Skywalker at this point. And was it brilliant? Was it jaw-dropping? Not really. It was nice. Nice to see how far AI came along at that moment in time, but I just thought, yeah, whatever.
Let them come.
Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
So it's left people scratching their heads like, why is he here? And is he going to finish off the training with Ahsoka so she goes from Padawan to full Jedi? She calls herself a Jedi, or the advertising does, but she's not. So I just think this is, it's a dumb move. It really is. So this episode was slightly better than the first three, but just like Starfield, if you got a brand new series of a beloved IP or want a beloved IP that comes out, hook your audience in from the very beginning. Don't make them wait 6 or 20 hours for something to finally happen like Starfield does. And on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you were me, and perhaps if I were you, you better come back for the next video.